Hello, everyone. Blue Star Saber here once again to give you another Star Wars series review. Episode Andor, episodes 1 to 3. Let's see, the new Disney Plus series Andor, the prequel to the Star Wars prequel Rogue One. A prequel of a prequel. Anyway, interesting enough, Andor was one of those shows that first announced, many were like, who asked for this? Why was this needed and all that stuff? But given how some of the other Star Wars shows have gotten a bit of mixed results, given the Book of Boba Fett and even Obi-Wan Kenobi, I personally like those shows, or at least I liked some of the episodes individually, at least. Let's see. And as more stuff got announced with Andor, like the sets being revealed. Let's see, the fact that there won't be any too many Easter egg cameos. It's on the original story, all that stuff. You got more people drawn towards the show, and I think it generally generated a bit more hype. Let's see, did it live up to that hype? Well, let's see now. Let's see, review the episodes and all that stuff. Let's see. It begins 5 years before the Battle of Yavin and all that stuff, or like Rogue One, where Cassian Andor is traveling to an industrial planet called Morlun One, who is apparently looking for his missing sister, where he goes to a brothel and ends up asking about it. And during the which, when interrogating the host that he talks to, he ends up alienating two police, what is regarded as two Imperial police officers. One of them is called, I believe, Carver Dresser, and he ends up accidentally killing his partner and then has to shoot him so he wouldn't leave no witnesses. Apparently, flee to the planet Ferrex, in which that's where his home and where he's hiding and all that stuff, where his adopted mother's droid B2EMO. Sounds like B2 emo. Maybe that's what they were going for, but this little Ricky-like droid, and I really like it, by the way. And during the which he's asking to keep his cover not to be blown and all that stuff, and I believe from what I can tell, that is from from what I can tell, it is someone called a Brasso, I think. Hold on, let me just get up there. Let me just search the net. Let me just search. Let's see, Brasso. Yeah. Yes, I believe Brasso, a miner from a. Let's see, he's apparently a friend, and I think he was covering for Andor and all that stuff. When Andor asks him that we were out for drinks and all that stuff. Eventually, that he. And then he goes to his friend Bix, I believe, a woman that eventually asks her to, get into a buy and all that stuff, because he has a Star Path unit that can get him out of this world and all that stuff, and which she agrees to, but okay, actually, that makes, let's see, in which she tries to hide this, or in which she agrees to, but tries to hide it from her boyfriend, Tim. I got them mixed up here, probably, but yeah. During this time back on Morlun 1 and all this stuff, let's see that he is being the deputy of like the police force there, or the security thing there. Cyril Khan is, reporting to a superior officer about how he believes the cases are murdered and all that stuff. But the inspector wants to cover it up as he doesn't want to cause him too much hassle thing, but the deputy is determined to, see it through to the end, if you will, and all that stuff. And let's see, I'm trying to remember everything that happened in the episode. And during which let's see, hon. Let's see, in which he's able to and has people look for the ship and all that stuff and trace it back to Felix. And apparently, when he gets like the interrogation from, I think the from the hostess area, that he's or at least some eyewitness that he's from the planet Canera and all that stuff. And during the course of this episode, we get a flashback of a young Cardassian who is known as Casa from a tribe of Canari, who painting marks kind of remind me of Quellen Voss. I'm not sure if that is the exact same planet as Voss and all that stuff. I'm actually just going to try and look at Cassian Andor's Wikipedia page and all that stuff. Let's see. It's apparently no, it seems Canary is a new people and not related to Quell and Voss and all that stuff because they have their own language. And I could not tell what it was, but we see his sister. We see he's part of some sort of kid tribe and all that stuff. And they see a ship crash and all that stuff, and his tribe decides to investigate. And he ends up telling his sister to stay behind, leaving her, which was the end of the episode. Though I'm just going to check if I haven't missed anything important during these details. Let's see. Because I'm just looking at the. See, but yeah. Yeah, Bix Kelly and the female mechanic at the garage. Now, let's see. Oh, yeah, there's also this apparently guy called Norichi who wants his money back, and the vet and he uses vet as Matsu, but let's see, but promises to pay them back later and all that stuff, and then it manages to escape them and all that stuff. But yeah, and yeah. Other than that, oh yeah, Tim Carlo, who was like the boyfriend, tries to. Let's see. The boyfriend tries to follow his girlfriend and all that stuff. So yeah, that ends that episode. The first thing to say about this episode, it's clear to this beginning of this episode that this episode is perhaps the most mature and most adult-oriented Star Wars, visual media, Star Wars media that was being put to like the movies and TV shows. I've seen some people compare it to like the first two Star Wars movies, but I think it goes a bit more grown up in a bit. Granted, you sometimes see grown up elements in all the Star Wars films if you pay attention and that stuff, but this one apparently has the most tone-like to that. Let's see, particularly since the first thing that our main character does is visit a brothel and that stuff, and we see that he's got a motivation, and that's trying to find his sister, and we see that in this flashback. It's connected, how he was born and all that stuff, and what's probably the last time he saw, and it was the last time he saw and all that stuff. So I like that. And this episode does also play off a bit with to Andor's more darker personality or actions that we've seen in Rogue One, where he ended up assassinating his own ally shooting his own ally so he wouldn't get caught and interrogated by the Imperials and all that stuff. So yeah, we see him here trying to clear up evidence after when he accidentally killed two police officers he was trying to avoid confrontation with and all that stuff. Now, granted, I do like how these were two cocky drunks who who think they could probably pick a fight and getting jealous about him, but then once one of them ended up accidentally dying, the other one's like, please, 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 please don't kill me and all that stuff. Let's just go to Feds and quietly report it was an accident. But of course, Andor's not having any of it. so kills him and all that stuff. I do like how he's very quiet to try and covers his tracks by asking like one of his like friends. Let's see, I believe Brasso to try and cover it up and all that stuff, and asking let's see, Bix Kellen to help him with a buyer to like escape this like what's the Ferex and all that stuff. But as like a jealous, but it's also being suspected by a jealous boyfriend of Tim Carlo and all that stuff, from what I can tell. Let's see. I believe they're called Parax Malona officers, but yeah. Let's see, that are trying to investigate him, but so there's that. And it's like asking his friend that we went out to drinks and that stuff, and or telling the droid not to report back to his like adopted mother and all that stuff. We also like got introduced to arguably probably at least the antagonist for at least the first season. Let's see, Tim. No, hold on. Let's see, Deputy Inspector for the Preox Malone, Cyril Khan, who's very by the book. Wants to try. Let's see, seems like one of the very by the book, like those one of those cops that won't just leave it go, even though. Let's see, his superior says because he doesn't want to cause trouble for the Empire, and let's see, get more Imperials investigating, and just decides that these two cops aren't worth it. Just make a fake cover story of them dying heroically, even though one of them is a disgraced, officer and all that stuff. So it's like, but he doesn't want to do that, so he gets like his own team to do this. And I noticed that the officers here seem to all have a bit of a Scottish accent. At least that's what I'm guessing is the intention. I could be wrong. I mean, I was up in Scotland a while back, but I could be wrong there. But yeah, so I do like that, and I did like the flashback of like the seeing the sister and then the last time and all that stuff. The only thing I felt that was kind of pointless was in like the first episode, you have like this confrontation with this guy called Naruch who's wanting money back, but it leads to nowhere. I at least felt like the whole ship trace thing when, and let's see, probably forgot to mention that a guy lending him the ship is no longer allowing him to do it and all that stuff because they go missing. He could lose his job and all that stuff since it's from a sort of cars depot. So yeah, overall, I'd say this episode's like an 8.5 out of 10. Pretty good introduction. I will say probably required a bit more. That's probably one of the reasons why the next two episodes will carry him out along with it. All that stuff, which made it felt like a bit of a mini movie. So yeah, that first episode I'd say was pretty good. Just one thing I found was pointless, but other than that, I thought it was a good episode. Let's see, the second episode is let's see, that would be me. The first episode was Casa and all that stuff, which is, of course, let's see, Andor's original name. Let's see, in which after, let's see, Casa. Let's see, Bix is trying to hold on, let me just get the let's see, the episode begins, let's see, pretty much the young Casa journeying with his tribe to see the broken ship and all that stuff. Let's see, in his tribe investigate the crashed ship nearby industrial ships, pounding near an industrial mining operation. I should probably mention the effects on the show are gorgeous. Probably the best that they've ever done in a TV show. Like even better than The Mandalorian and all that stuff. So yeah, as they're investigating a ship and all that stuff. And during which, let's see, I probably should mention, probably going to mention the flashback stuff happens first, where one of them goes to investigate and sees one of the assuming a dead crew. They appear to be wearing the separatist marks, from what I can tell. I do know that in one of the Star Wars Rogue One novels, apparently Andor was a part of the Separatist Alliance. So I'm not sure if that leads to here, but or they were public symbols. I couldn't tell, but either way, I do know that he was always been a bit of a rebel since he was young. Apparently, though I'm not sure how much the novels are gonna, how much that Rogue One prequel novel is gonna be kept in canon with the show, or if they're gonna reference it too much. But I assume that the backstory they're doing is tying into it, and all that stuff. So there's that. But yeah, this person gets killed, and they all the tribe kills him with like dart guns, which are like blow pike, blow guns and all that. Trying to can't understand the name, but the thing you blow air to and which a toxic dart shoots out of, which they end up taking their dead, I think, leader with him, but Andor stays behind because he wants to explore the ship and all that stuff. Let's see. Meanwhile, let's see. Andor is visiting Bex Kelling at a garage and all that stuff, and is like asking her to do stuff for her and all that stuff. Let's see, and tries to get get the buyer to get sold to them by immediately. However, she ends up trying to cover when she finds out that he's been discovered on. He's been identified. At least he's been somewhat partially identified on the planet by the police, and if you will, all that stuff. So she tries to get the buyer dealt with quickly, but her boyfriend, jealous and all that stuff, ends up reporting Andor to the police and all that stuff, and or the pre-minor security, if you will, which then issues a warrant for his arrest and all that stuff, as a now identify a Casson and all that stuff. In which, doing this, Khan partners with someone called Mosk, a more equally dutied on the streets officer, if you will, who was really determined about how, keep the security and all that stuff, how they're the first line of defense and all that stuff. During which I think Cassian Andor ends up meeting his adopted mother and all that stuff, in which his droid ends up informing her about how he's wanted and all that stuff, and she tells him that, "Are you sure you didn't let anyone know about your identity and stuff?" and starts worrying about Andor. And all that stuff. Let's see, and oh yeah, let's see. This is probably the episode in which the Andor swapped the ship thing. I probably got them mixed up. My mistake there. But yeah, he ends up. Let's see. Sorry, I've only watched the episodes once and I haven't much time to remember. Let's see, and that was on Wednesday, so I can't remember every detail that's happened straight away and all that stuff. But yeah. And also running out of options and all that stuff. But his mother's clearly panicking and telling him to try and cover his tracks and that stuff. But as he's preparing all that stuff, Bix's buyer, Luthen Raoul, was played by that same sort of scientist from the first two Loki movies and the first Avengers movie. I got brainwashed by Loki. I forgot his name. He's now apparently traveling to Sapa, to Fernex to obtain the Star Path unit that Andor has. But yeah, with the episode, I believe I'm doing a very terrible narration. I apologize. Let's see. Oops. Casson. That would be me. Plans in motion. Apparently, the episode ends with ends up with, of course, chatting to to some dude there about what it was like when he was young on the planet, but he's not really there. But yeah, as the transport ship ends up on Felix ending the episode, I thought this was quite an interesting episode because you get a bit more of Andor's tribe as we're investigating, and then seeing one of them die and seeing how they fight with the darts against blasters. It's a bit relative, and it takes a while to kill the guy, even though he's been wounded and all that stuff. I did find it interesting how Bex's boyfriend, jealous of the relationship she has with Andor, once he leads to be so jealous that he ends up misunderstanding the whole situation. And then when he finds out Andor might be wanted, ends up reporting it and all that stuff to the police and all that stuff, and which gets him a lead. And I do like the partner that the main villain, Salah Khan has. Let's see in his name of Mosk, who is just who absolutely believes that what they're doing is the right thing, and that what the deputy's doing is the right thing, and that they need to do it in order to they're the first line of order for the galaxy, so the Empire doesn't do it and all that stuff. So I'd like that sort of personality. So I quite like the partnership these two have and all that stuff. So there's that. I do like. I will admit, I was the first a bit confused about the mother. Though granted, this is probably when the second episode becomes a bit more clear. So I definitely say that this is the bit where the episode is a bit confusing at first until you go to his bedroom and see okay, he was raised by this person, and she can tell that she really cares about Andor when she finds out that not only has he been going to Fritzy trying to keep secrets from her, but also sort of lying and all that stuff, but also having her droid keep secrets from her and all that stuff, and that she's like, did you tell anyone that you're from the planet? And it seems like Andor, being reckless, not really thinking long-term consequences, probably like someone who hasn't cleared the internet search history. Sorry, bad joke there. All that stuff. Or at least not careful. Not being careful what they've posted on social media. Yeah, that's much better. That's a much better one. What information he's given out on social media, if you will. But now, and that, they don't really have social media in Star Wars, I know that. But but seeing the fact he's probably told a few people, he's not sure. We know that Bix is one of them and all that stuff. But yeah. But he sort of worries and tries to get off the planet, and his main method of doing so cannot be helped and all that stuff. So he's trying to find a way to buy a new ship or some sort of transport, if you will. Meanwhile, I do like the sort of relationship that you have with Bix and Tim, and this is really probably the most mature thing that's ever happened in Star Wars. The implied busyness they've gotten together, if you will. I don't think now. Of course, we know that there have been Star Wars characters that have done the bees and the knees, like for example, Padme and Anakin, because otherwise Luke and Leia wouldn't be born. Also, like Leia and Han, otherwise Ben and Solo wouldn't be born. But yeah. So I do like the mature stuff there, and it's clear that Tim made probably a mistake when Bix comes to see him and all that stuff, and he probably feels guilty, but he doesn't tell too much information on it yet. But yeah, other than that, I did like the character. Let me just get Rel, I believe, Luthen Rel, was just flying there to collect his thing, ends up talking to this random dude, and it's like just talking about what's it like before, or like the Empire and all that stuff, or let's see what it was like on the planet years ago and all that stuff. So there was that. So overall, I think I'll give this episode a 9 out of 10. It's much better than the last one. Probably some few bits that you probably need episode 3 to get full on good see conclusions for. So there's that. And now the final episode, The Reckoning, or at least the last one of this 3-part mini story arc, in which I'll just get the young flashback of Andor back and all that stuff, in which we see Cassian, scavenging like the inside the ship, sees his own reflection there. Sort of, oops, my alarm. Let's see, get intimidated by the reflection and all that stuff, ends up breaking things, and then that's where he ends up meeting Marva and her husband Clem, who are scavenging the ship, all that stuff, and they find Casa. And they decide that they will take him, and she decides to take him with us, and we see like a little droid there as well, and all that stuff. As she thinks that even though the husband tells her to not do it because otherwise, but she says they gotta take him with him because if he's discovered by the Republic who are coming and all that stuff, he'll probably likely be killed. So I think this is probably a Republic ship. No, it could be a Separatist one. I'm not sure, but this could be the origin of why Andor might have been part of the Separatists, though perhaps maybe some of the other episodes will explore it. But yeah. So yeah, we see Andor. I think at the scavenging thing, because he works there, scavenging ships and all that stuff. As he tries to buy some money off the guy to like get some sort of try and get some, I think, shuttle, or some quiet or some speeder that allows him to sneak away and all that stuff. I can't recall, but he tries to pay, but it doesn't really work. But yeah. Anyway, Luthen Rael has arrived on Ferrex and all that stuff. He says goodbye to the male passenger. Ends up meeting Bix Kalen, who tells him about the buy and all that stuff and how she trusts Andor and all that stuff. But mentions how someone's been looking and all that stuff. And ends up meeting in an abandoned warehouse and all that stuff about all that stuff. And they talk a bit about what the other back and forth of one's a spy or not, or one's ask about the stolen Imperial Star Path unit and all that stuff, and whether or not they can trust each other, what they want to do with it, and all that stuff. Can they actually give the credits and that stuff? Meanwhile, Khan and Moscow arrive in the shuttle thing. After trying to do some sort of after both giving a speech to their crew of 12 at least, about who they're dealing with and all that stuff and why they need to do this, and mostly to bring justice to the 2 dead security officers, all that stuff. And during when they land on the planet, they end up breaking into Martha's home and all that stuff, and she refuses to cooperate, even though they end up getting an interception of Andor with the droid and all that stuff, because he put a comm inside. So he can message, Martha later and say sorry, which leaves 2 security guards there. I think one of them looks like Patton Olsen, I think. I could be wrong, but 2 guards there. But it causes a bit of, outcry from the public because Martha's got a reputation of being a sweet old lady and all that stuff. And during which this conversation Andor's having with I think it's Luthen Rael. He is actually trying to recruit Andor to be possibly part of the Rebel Alliance to fight the Imperials, because he ends up revealing his story how he tries to just fit in by the Empire is just so cocky that they never expect someone as low life as him would infiltrate the thing, which I'll be fair is probably a good way of it's a good way of the episode of explaining how, the tired trope of, Star Wars protagonists stealing stormtrooper gear are always able to do it, and no one in the Empire seems to figure it out except for like a few certain characters like Thrawn. So yeah, props to that, Andor. But anyway, Bix ends up suspecting that something is up and all that stuff. Realizes Andor's in trouble and ends up finding out that that her boyfriend Tim. Where Tim. End up selling out that Tim ends up selling out their friend and all that stuff after some people telling them that to what the security guys are doing here and all that stuff. So she gets a boyfriend and all that stuff, so she ends up leaving him for a bit, and during the whole course of this, Andor and Rael end up having a bit of a gunfight with some of the security guards, at least 4 of them, killing them and all that stuff. At least 3 out of 4 of them, but their starship unit thing that Andor has ends up escaping, and as the course of the run, there's a bit more of a firefight and all that stuff, and they captured the deputy Salon Khan and all that stuff, use a speeder as a decoy, blowing up some others and all that stuff, then escape on a speeder, and eventually get onto Rael's own ship and all that stuff. During the course of it, Bix ends up being captured by some of the security thing. Her boyfriend tries to come and save her, but ends up getting shot by one of the officers, who's told to go back to the shuttle, and then ends up dying in the shuttle when he tries to take off because of strapped. Because I believe some workers, I think Andor's friend from earlier might have done it. I need to rewatch the episode, but yeah, Bix is trapped until one of the other co-workers comes to help her and all that stuff. And eventually, Andor leaves with Rael and all that stuff, while all his friends and family are left, are just sitting down depressed about all of what's just happened with the events, sort of ending the episode and all that stuff. Now, this is arguably the best episode so far in the series. I like the sort of I did like the origin of how Khan ended up, we now learn how Khan ended up escaping. Ended up getting leaving the planet. He was sort of kidnapped / rescued by his adopted mother, even though her husband was against the idea of taking him and all that stuff, but she didn't want to leave him to die because the Republic was coming to get them. I'm not sure if that was a separatist or a Republic ship still. I really need to double check the marking, but it's arguably possibly this might lead why he was a part of the separatists first and all that stuff for a while, before eventually, of course, becoming a Rebel Alliance member and all that stuff. So I'd like that. So I like how she's shown care and all that stuff. And I'd like how there's a bit of communication thing as well. Andor doesn't speak English yet. But it's yeah. But I don't like how he got the name and all that stuff. But yeah. And it seems like this makes it clear why he's now trying to look for a sister who he probably discovered, of course, had somehow got off planet itself and all that stuff. And apparently was in that brothel. I probably should have mentioned that earlier. I do like the sort of speech where those two those two security officers do, with Mosk being the more confident one, and Selin Khan being a bit more being a bit more stuttering one, who was quite confident, was trying to sound intimidating and all that stuff. Now, granted, he did get support. I do like how Mosk said get support telling him that was a pretty good speech, even though I don't think he is confident as Mosk himself with the rest of the troops. But yeah, I like that. Speaking of with, I really probably like the real world commentary. Maybe commentary, or maybe just let's see, probably how accurate most people probably find police raids of like people of like all these groups of police coming in, barging into a home at least. Well, probably at least I assume at least in the US and maybe some other countries and all that stuff. I'm not sure we'd have that here in the UK, where or more of a let's see, or maybe more of an authoritarian kind of like regime kind of thing, where people just barge in, like these officers just barge into a home, ransack the place, threaten like the residents, and let's see, it gets many of the community angry given the fact that it's like, how could you do that to a sweet old lady and all that stuff? And so they just end up two there, in which I do like how Marvel ends up scaring one of the officers and all that stuff about the upcoming events and all that stuff, how you're probably getting afraid and all that stuff. But yeah, that was a pretty good thing. Granted, I'm glad that she's alive still at the end and not dead, though. Granted, I doubt that we'll probably see her again. Though I think Andor will ever see her again. Though, granted, he did promise to come back one day, but for all we know, she might end up being dead by the time of Rogue One, or she's still alive and has no idea that her adopted son died. Let's see, in the Battle of Scarif and all that stuff. But who knows? That'll be an interesting thing to do. I mean, there's 2 episodes, 2 seasons here, but yeah. So there's that. And then, of course, there's like a sort of police doing, let's see, reckless firing of civilian when Tim tries to rescue his girlfriend, Bix, and all that stuff. And the higher-ranking officer tells him to wait at the ship and wait further orders. Like, just given the silly thing he's did, because that kind of thing probably in the more public, let's see, they're lucky they probably didn't cause riots, given the fact these guys aren't exactly popular here and all that stuff. But it does lead to someone like sabotaging that guy's ship, getting his just desserts. But yeah, I do like how Bix is able to discover that her boyfriend ran out and her friend Andor and all that stuff, and you can tell that she trusts Andor, given how he tells Luthen Rail, played by Stellan Sagard. Sorry, sorry if I pronounced that surname wrong. I am terrible, I know. But she's angry at him for that. But she seems to sort of still ends up caring, and I'm not sure if she fully forgives him. But it's a bit too late because like her best because Tim ends up attempts to try and redeem himself, trying to save her when she's being handcuffed to a wall and all that stuff. He ends up dying and all that stuff, and you can just tell that she's a bit broken after all this, because not only has she lost her friend, but her boyfriend as well. And the other friend is still around. I think he ended up just sabotaging the ship and helping Andor in some way. It's been a while since I've seen the episode. But ends up being, let's see, ends up drinking as well, and you have more, let's see, a mother, let's see, being depressed as well and all that stuff. But yeah, I really like the main highlight is like Andor meeting this rebel agent and all that stuff, and they're not trusting each other. Him asking how Andor got the whole thing, and like I mentioned earlier, the explanation. Like that. I do like how it's like, oh, let's see, do you have the credits or do you have the shit part? I don't know if you're a spy and all that stuff. Oh, this is a setup. Who's a trust who? Are you planning to leave the planet? Etc. like that. Stuff like that. So I do like the interrogation. I do like how they were able to work quite well in the team. I do like the blaster that Andor has. I don't know what it is. I think I should probably recall it from somewhere. I'm not sure if it's from Rogue One, but yeah. But as let's see, I did like how they worked together, and even though that Andor really wanted to try and get the Star Unit piece back, given the skirmish and the crossfire there, it was too risky in the end, and they had to just leave it behind and all that stuff. I do like how they end up kidnapping the sergeant and all that stuff, who end up ratting out his own comrades a bit, and which will probably affect him later because he was afraid of his own life. at gunpoint and all that stuff. And after a bit of witty motivation to do so and all that stuff, but yeah, gets tied up and gets saved by officers later. But I do like how they use like a big, let's see, speeder and all that stuff to like use a covering with like a whole bunch of detonation explosions, killing majority of the officers and all that stuff. And then, of course, them escaping on like one of those sort of like speeder bike things, like maybe not the ones that the Empire has, but you can tell, but like, the equivalent to like motorbikes, if you will. And they get to like a Khan's ship, and then you see him escaping, let's see, the planet. And it's a quite beautiful view they do of that. But yeah, I do think it's quite interesting how they've portrayed, the villain Solo Khan here, this deputy inspector, who, as we've seen, is so determined to try and capture to it, but it's clear that he's afraid of his own life and would probably end up ratting his own comrades out about how many of them there were and all that stuff. And even though he tried his best to try and capture them afterwards, the information he probably gave probably also ended up helping, maybe indirectly, the explosion and stuff. And you can just see he's got a kind of sort of like, I think, sort of stress disorder thing from the whole situation, I think, or beginning to get PTSD, I think it is. As he's just silently looking around the carnage, realizing that who of his comrades is dead, how he's failed in this mission, how he's failed to bring not only justice to these two officers, but has now got a few more else dead. And I think this is going to make him determined to try and find Andor and all that stuff. And granted, this might not. Let's see, we'll see him again. Well, I assume that we will see him for a few more episodes. I don't think he'll be in every episode, but I think he's definitely going to be reprimanded by his head security officer thing. I'm not sure we're going to see more of his like partner. Let's see. I think his name is Mosque, if you will, and all that stuff. So the stuff like that. So yeah, I think it was like a very somber end to an episode. It's like this life. Let's see, Andor's time on Felix is gone, and now he must escape. I also do. So there's stuff like that. So yeah, it's a pretty good episode. And it's like a good conclusion of this story arc. And with these 3 episodes together, you could argue it's like a mini movie on Star Wars, like a mini movie of Andor and all that stuff, which I don't know, from what I can tell, not every episode's a story arc, but let's see, part of a little mini story arc. I think there's 1 or 2 episodes that are just solo episodes, but yeah, it's a pretty good start for Andor and shows a bit of a bleak galaxy they're in and all that stuff. In the moment where Andor now has to go on the run because he accidentally killed some people. So it's all that stuff. Overall, I think I'll give this episode a 10 out of 10. The effects were great. The fight scene, the standoff blaster scenes were great and all that stuff. So yeah, overall, good episode and all that stuff. I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to the 4th episode, which is coming out tomorrow, and which apparently, we're going to explore Coruscant and Mon Mothma and all that stuff. So yeah, the show is looking really good. I know apparently, let's see, 3 episodes down and another 21 to go, since apparently Andor's only having 2 seasons, 12 episodes each. Now, I do wonder how popular the show might end up being. They might try to do like extended 5, because I heard that's what they were originally going to do, but it seems it's not the case. 5 episodes, 12 episodes was 5 years before Rogue One, and the 2nd season leading up to the events of Rogue One. So yeah, overall. Anyway, those who are listening to my review, I hope you enjoyed it. Let's see, at least in the background, all that stuff. I am Blue Star Saber. May the Force be with you. Thank you for joining me, and goodbye.